Welcome to the Multi-Orgasmic Mama podcast, where sexual taboos around sex and motherhood are broken. I'm Tilly Storm, holistic sex and intimacy coach, jade egg, and tantric sex teacher. I work with high-achieving moms to ignite their sexual desire and break through their blocks to pleasure and the life they desire so they can experience epic sex and orgasmic motherhood. Grab more free resources at www.tillystorm.com. This episode is brought to you for free by the Sensually Embodied Woman Collective, my signature women's group coaching program for high-achieving moms to get their desire back after having kids and up-level their pleasure, both in the bedroom and life. If you're enjoying this content, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcasting app, and please rate and review the podcast and share it with a friend who could use this amazing content. Spread the love, hot mama. Welcome back, mamas. It's Tilly Storm, and I want to tell you about something that I have just created that I'm super excited to share with you. It is a free 5-day training on how to have epic sex and pleasure as a high-achieving mom. It is a private podcast that I recorded just for those of you who opt into it. I love podcasts. It is the most censor-free way to get the word out about what I share. And I'm super excited because it's finally ready to share with you. So in the 5-day podcast or 5-episode, you can actually go binge watch it if you want, for those of you that enjoy that. But I'm sharing with you all of the things that are required in order for you to be experiencing epic sex and pleasure as a high achiever. So day 1, you're going to learn all about the ultimate morning routine that busy, high-achieving moms are using to create epic pleasure in the bedroom and beyond. Because a lot of the work that I do, it spans way more than just in the bedroom. It has to do with your life, your ability to just enjoy yourself, to enjoy the sensuality and the play and the fun of being alive. And on day 2 or episode 2, I tell you how to get out of your head and into your body with this ancient practice. So we're going all into getting out of your head, because I know that's one of the things that us high achieving mamas really, really struggle with. Day 3 is reclaiming your energy by doing this one thing. Oh my goodness. If you struggle with energy, you need more energy, you want more energy, you're going to want to download this private podcast. This is like the end all be all of energy and how you're able to get it and reclaim it back. And on day 4, I tell you all about the 5 love languages for your sex life. So if you struggle knowing what you want and like sexually, then you are going to learn a lot about what it is you might want and like right here. And on day 5, we go into the only thing stopping you from epic sex and pleasure, which is completely unexpected. You will have no clue what I'm going to be sharing with you in that episode, but I want you to go find out. So you can go download the secret podcast at www.tillystorm.com/5-day training. All one word, no uppercase, they're just all lowercase letters. So you can also access that link in any of the show notes on whatever podcasting app you listen to. So again, it's www.tillystorm.com/5-day training. And if you're just going to type it in, be sure to put in the www. For some reason, if you don't put it in and you've never accessed that page before, it will say that website isn't available. So go put in the www.tillystorm.com/5-day training and learn how you can have epic sex and pleasure and the exact things and methods and processes that I take my clients through in order to experience this. Today, you're going to be hearing from one of our clients, Serena, who just completed our Sensually Embodied Woman program. We are starting another big group of ladies on March 31st, 2022. So if you are at all interested in doing this program, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you probably know this is my signature program. This is the thing that we love all women to go through first, because every single woman, as you will hear on every podcast interview that we've done from the ladies who've done this program, they all say, oh my God, every single woman needs to do this program. If you have entertained the idea, if you've maybe looked at the website before and noticed the Sensually Embodied Woman program that we offer, I want you to hear from what they're saying about the program themselves, the wins, why they came to the program, what sort of breakthroughs they experienced, because what we offer is truly phenomenal and it's life-changing. Your life will never be the same after you go through this program. So without further ado, here is Serena. Welcome, Serena. How are you doing today?
Hello, Tilly Storm. I am great. How are you?
I am wonderful. I'm super excited to have you on to share with us about your experience in the Sensually Embodied Woman program. So to start, can you just share with us a little bit about you and what you're like, what your family situation's like?
Yes, I have a big family as a whole. We are, as a family unit, we're four. I've been with my partner now for over 20 years. We're married for 20, and we have 2 kids. We also have, brothers and sisters and parents who are all local. And so we spend a lot of time together as a big family, but also we love spending time, the 4 of us. And whenever we can, of course, my husband and I like to spend time together too.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, tell me a little bit about what brought you to the SCW program.
Well, I have been following you for a really long time, and I was really just looking to elevate and really deepen my life experience. I just knew that there was more richness that I could experience, and I knew that things like counseling or maybe just other avenues didn't seem quite right, especially because I'm a spiritual person. And so I knew having been following you for so long, that you and I kind of speak the same language. And so I actually initially reached out to you in interest of Tantra. And then we discovered after our talk that the Sensually Embodied Woman would actually suit me much better in the position that I'm in now. And I was right. It's been an incredible program.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, tell me a little bit about that same language that we speak. What do you like to do for fun? What are your interests that really, vibed?
Well, like I said, it's kind of that spiritual element that accompanies that growth, that digging, that movement beyond those things that are blocks in everyday life. And you're addressing the questions of energy, of chakras, of also the physical accompaniments that come along with the program, that I think are absolutely essential to healing, to learning how to move past our blocks, and then finally tapping into our bodies and learning how to connect with our bodies. But I think what spoke to me the most was really understanding the presence of the divine within us, and learning how to access that as something that's an infinite source of love, energy. And so just knowing that was, where your philosophy was, and that I felt the same, I knew that you would help me reach my goals.
Awesome. Yeah. And you like to do yoga, yeah?
Oh, yes. I love to do yoga. I know I'm forgetting that. But what's really great about the yoga practice also is that with that already is so much about getting in touch with our bodies, listening to our bodies as we move, asking our bodies what it needs in that moment that we're practicing in the, within the boundaries of the mat. And so already having that foundation was really also a great way to work through SEW.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of those things that I always look for to see if people are really ready for this. I'm like, have you done any yoga or meditation? Because you really need to have at least done something before. Awesome. Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about what your life was like when you showed up in this program. What was going on in your sex life, your relationship, and your family that made you want to join?
Well, I have a tendency to feel overwhelmed and to let overwhelm get to me. And something that I always fear is that sense of overwhelm is going to block me from experiencing full pleasure. And I hated that because one of my just greatest goals is to be able to enjoy as fully as possible my time with my family, my time with my husband. And I felt like I wasn't getting that. Like there was always something in the way, a worry, an anxiety, a fear. And so what also brought me, as I mentioned, was I was interested in Tantra because my husband and I actually have a really good connection. But I knew that there's more. I wanted to learn. I'm curious. So when I called you, I called in interest of learning a little bit more about Tantra or Tantra. I'm not sure. You might have to correct me on that, Tilly. But because we already have such a good connection, but I knew I just was curious and I wanted to deepen that experience that we have together. But then I realized that I needed to work on me and getting past my own kinds of issues so that I can deepen my experience with pleasure and make that more rich. And then maybe eventually move on to learning more about Tantra with my partner.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. And did you find that you were able to get more in touch with you and to connect more with you through learning different tools to deal with overwhelm?
Oh my gosh, 100%. I have done talk therapy before. I am the person that reads all the self-help books and does the self-help journaling and exercises, but I don't think it was really yoga. It was the first time that I learned how important it was to include my body and movement and, physical elements into learning how to overcome and move through that sense of overwhelm and fear and anxiety and all those other things that have held me back from really experiencing the rich life that I want to experience. And so certainly in the Sensually Embodied Woman, I have experienced just this feeling that I have never been able to feel. As a matter of fact, recently with our breakthrough call, I had what you determined was a kundalini awakening, which was incredible. I went from this tension and fear that is really rooted in fear having to do with health. That's kind of a theme with me. And then you helped me kind of experience what would happen if I actually truly believed that my feeling good is also going to fuel the health that I'm looking for in my family. And I had that awakening and it felt what to me felt orgasmic. And I've never felt anything like that before. And so just that's one example of so many that demonstrates how beneficial this program has been for me in helping me recognize that I can feel good, that I can move through those anxieties and those fears that have held me back and experience pleasure like I did in that example I just gave.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember soon after you started the program, you ended up going through this series of challenges with your kids and your family. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and how you were able to manage all of the feelings of, oh my God, what is happening? One thing after the other, like kind of a train wreck experience in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a lot of health challenges happening in our family for the past couple of months. And it was all of us, my husband, myself, my children. And then it just created that for me as an absolute source of fear, anxiety. It triggers me. And so I'm also really grateful. And I doubt it's even a coincidence that all this is happening while I'm beginning to unpack, right, all of my issues. And so grateful that I was part of the program while all this was going on, because it was the one-on-one calls that we had. It was the group calls that we had, my accountability sisters, the tools that are given in the weekly exercises, the foundational practices, the JADEG practices, all of that helped me get into my body so that I can have a better understanding of what this source of fear was, what was happening. And so all of that gave me the support I needed to be able to have the experience that I had recently, which was that awakening, that energetic awakening. So that definitely has helped me. I've felt such an actual shift as a consequence of all of these weeks of having that support, of using these tools and learning, as a matter of fact, that this inner child, which I've always kind of known was there, was able to come forward, and we were able to work together, work things out so that she wouldn't kind of generate all of, as we said, the chaos, right, that was happening as a consequence of all of the fear and all of the the anxiety and everything else that I've already mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say was one of the tools or practices that, or maybe just nuggets of wisdom that you picked up along the way? I know we talked about the 1% a lot.
Oh my gosh, yes.
How did that help you get through this? Because you're one of those people where it's like, well, this wasn't so much about the sexuality piece because you already had a decent sex life with your husband. Things were great, but you knew that there was more, and you knew that the nervous system level, the somatics level, was where you really needed to go next. So tell us a little about what were some of the specific things that helped you out of the overwhelm, or to even increase your capacity to experience more present moment pleasure, to be in your body, to feel safe being in your body, to trust that your body has an inherent wisdom. And also, I remember you having a cervical orgasm at some point in this program. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, that was actually pretty early on too, because in my typical fashion too, I tend to just kind of take things head on, and I'm like, let's go. And I go out of the gates, and so I was really into and I think I already had a lot of sexual energy anyway, kind of generating, just creative energy generating. And so, yeah, I was able to experience that pretty early on. And so as far as the practices or the nuggets of wisdom, what was interesting is kind of shortly after that, it was where all of these health issues began to manifest, and all of these challenges and these blocks that were presenting themselves that really are blocks that I've wanted to learn how to get past. And so something that helped me definitely was the 1%. So you would tell me, okay, if it's too much to do whatever it is that maybe I came up with that I said, I really want to go to yoga every day. Okay, well, maybe every day is not an option. So what's the 1%? Well, you know what? I'm not going at all. So 1% is let's go just on Saturdays. And then it felt doable. It didn't feel overwhelming. And then the one day becomes 2. And then eventually, and so on and so forth. And the same thing with meal preparation. That was another one that I wanted to prepare healthy meals. I just felt that need, that was the right way to go to support our health. And what's the 1%? And I figured it out. And now I'm actually doing more meal preparation, and it feels good. It doesn't feel overwhelming. And so that nugget, and I think the other one that's just been invaluable has been the somatic release that we've learned to do, which in the mornings we do every single morning. And I don't even know that I realized how helpful it was until I had that awakening very recently. And so I do a lot of that somatic release. As a matter of fact, I do it even when it's not embedded in our curriculum. I'll just do it on my own. And for me, that's been so, so helpful to just let go of anxiety that's so, making my body so tense.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So true. I was on I still have the I'm afraid to speak in front of lots of people thing. And I was on this summit today, and I was shaking. I was just like not shaking because I was scared, but shaking, moving any nervous energy because I could feel it creeping in. And about 15 minutes before I went live, I just started moving my body. I just started doing my little chi bath that I teach y'all how to do. And I was able to maintain that from like really that anxiety from coming up and, ruining my ability to speak live. So it's just like, I'm doing this all of the time too. I think people probably think I'm crazy when, if they were like follow me around for an entire day, they would think I was absolutely nuts. But
Me too.
I know, but it's so helpful to be able to work through anxiety and overwhelm. I'm not free of anxiety by any means either. I grew up in one of those homes where, I totally adopted the perfectionist identity. I was a gymnast, control freak, all of these things. And, as far as public speaking, that was definitely something that I never enjoyed either, because of something that happened when I was 12 with this guy that I had a crush on. And he's like, you should only speak in front of people about things you actually know about. And ever since then, it was been like, I can't do this. Right.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting that these simple tools can be so powerful in situations where, you just want to be able to release what you're feeling in your body. So would you say that your ability to feel emotions has increased, where you feel like you're not repressing them? Because I know that you also aren't drinking any wine or anything right now, or like doing anything to squelch the feelings. Tell me how you're dealing with that, and like, what's that like for you?
Yeah, that was hard at first because, as I think in so many of us do, there are these kind of items or things or experiences that we reach for when we're in need of comfort, whether it's food, whether it's wine. It's some kind of a flight, really, right? It could even be, going out and buying something, going on Amazon and buying stuff. And all of those things in some way have definitely been things I've reached for to be able to deal with whatever tension, anxiety is overwhelming me. And so what's interesting about all the health issues is that it put me in a situation where I could not turn to those things because of my own health, because I felt the need to be vigilant with my kids. And so it was really hard at first, but the tools of the program gave me something to turn to. It gave me something to turn to. So I remember one time being next to my son, who was going through some breathing issues, and my husband came into the room and he saw me shaking, and he was like, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" I said, "No, my body needs to do this. I'm doing this because I just had what felt to me like a traumatic experience with our child." And so I just let my body shake. I let it shake. And it actually helped so much. So again, that's just one other example. The trauma release exercise too was also incredibly in the healing jade egg practice, which I had the opportunity to do a couple of times, was also tremendously helpful. So all of those tools kind of helped me. And as a matter of fact, I mean, still now, like I might go to dinner and have one glass of wine, or, maybe, we went on vacation recently. So we are still doing those fun things, but now it's not something that I turn to immediately to relieve myself of, or numb myself from a feeling. So I'm definitely more in touch with them. Something that your program, the SEW program, teaches us to do is to feel where it is in our body. And we do that every day. We do it every morning. So I've become much more aware now of where I hold the anxiety in my chest, in my throat, sometimes in between my shoulder blades. And so that awareness is something that allows me to also move through it a lot more readily, and to let it move through me in my body. So that definitely has made a huge difference.
Yeah, nice. So I think a lot of people just don't want to feel the negative emotions. I mean, who does, right? They're negative emotions, or they're perceived negative emotions. So it really does take a lot of emotional courage to feel what we've been trying not to feel for a long time. Would you say that that's less of an issue to allow the negative or perceived things that you don't want, to just allow them to flow through you instead of try and push them away? Is it easier?
It is definitely, because one way or another, trying to suppress it, it's going to rear its head. It's going to come up, and eventually the wine is not going to be enough. The vacation, the new dress is not going to be enough. And something that I think is even more profound that I learned here, and that I had heard before, but I learned with, again, I know I've referred to it already, but that physical experience that we had on our call, where I had that spiritual and energetic awakening, is that we deepen our capacity for joy when we also allow for ourselves to experience these challenging emotions. And something that I learned before too was, you can't selectively numb. You cannot numb one emotion that's unpleasant without numbing the ones that you want, which are those happier, pleasurable feelings. And I didn't want that. I don't want to be numb to the joy of watching my children do something fun and cool, or hug me and tell me spontaneously that they love me, or, feel my husband's kiss. I don't want to be numb to that. I want to feel it fully. And so again, having the tools in this program, it allowed me, it it basically, as long as I did what I was being told to do, it made me do it. Right. It made me do it. And it is courageous. I agree with you, but I think I was able to do it because I always felt completely supported, surrounded by support, whether it be from you, the women on Vimify, and my accountability sisters who are incredible. So I've always felt very supported in that experience. And so I think that feeling of safety made it much easier for me to go through those experiences too.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Now I want to know what scared you the most about doing this program and how did you overcome it?
So, yeah, I mean, you're talking to somebody who gets overwhelmed, and somebody who also has had in the past tendencies, to be perfectionistic, to, be the one that follows it to the T. And so that, I think, was the most kind of what's the word I'm looking for? The most intimidating part of the program was just the sheer amount of things that we would have to do to get the full experience. And what I had to learn was that I'm not going to do this perfectly. And so the words that I used, kind of a little mantra that I kept to myself was, if I didn't have to do this perfectly, or if I didn't have to do it perfectly, I would try. And I just kind of let try kind of be open. So if I didn't have to do it perfectly, I'll try this jade egg practice. Or if I didn't have to do it perfectly, okay, I won't do this week on this week, but I can make it up next week. And so I had to allow myself that wiggle room to not do it to the T, and still recognize that I'm still going to get a great experience and be able to make it up when I can.
Yeah, nice. I love that. Cool. Well, tell me about your greatest transformation. What has been the greatest win, the greatest transformation?
Yeah, I think I kind of gave it away already, but it definitely was for me just like a threshold that was crossed when we had our call, and I had that kundalini awakening, because that for me was a moment where I recognized where the fruits of my labor actually presented themselves in my body. So my showing up every morning, and even the mornings that I didn't, but not getting down on myself and picking it up where I left off, that putting in the time and the work. And even on mornings where we would talk, my accountability sisters and I would talk, and we would say, I did the breathing exercise this morning and I didn't feel it. And we would have to just tell ourselves, but it doesn't matter. You showed up, you did it. We have to have faith that the outcome is going to be what we something great, whatever we even, maybe not what we expect, right? No expectations. We'll just, whatever it is there's going to be something and it's going to be great. And so certainly what happened when I had that awakening wasn't what I expected at all. When just a few seconds before that, I was feeling tension in my chest and tension, my throat was closing up. And you said and I didn't know that I could actually believe that statement to be true, that I am healthy and my family is healthy as long as I feel good. But I really believed it in that moment, and my body confirmed it. And that was the first time my body had ever confirmed any affirmation in that way. And that's a consequence of the work that this program, offered me and that I was able to put in.
Yeah. I always like talking about that. It's one of my favorite things to teach, actually, is how affirmations, how and when do they actually work? And well, let's just say 99.9% of the time they don't work, because you're operating on an unconscious belief system that absolutely can't believe it is true. But when you go in and do all of the unconscious rewiring and repatterning, like you've been doing for several months now, it makes space and room for your body to absorb it like a sponge, for it to finally be like, wait, let me try this on. Oh, no, wait, it fits now.
Yeah. Yes, that's what it was like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like it clicks all of a sudden and you never know when it's going to happen. So you're right. Like some people, it might take longer before it happens. Some people, it might happen really quickly. But as long as you keep showing up and doing the things like you've done, eventually it takes fruit, it takes effect. And that's why I'm a big believer in inch by inch is a cinch, yard by yard is hard. Because it's those small things that you do over time that snowball and that add up and have this huge effect eventually. You might not know when it's going to happen, but it eventually does. So you're just a great example of how that works and how, sometimes it takes some time, but it takes showing up consistently to do the things as much as you possibly can. And then poof.
Yeah, it was like that. It was like poof. So yes, thank you. I'm happy to be an example of that. And just again, there was just a faith that showing up was enough. And also what's so great about it was, even those morning practices feel like, if we're going to talk about just something doable, a 1%, so even times where it was really challenging because I wasn't sleeping, because I was tending to sick children, or I was sick and I didn't sleep, there would be times where maybe a morning or so that would go by that I couldn't do it, but I was able to show up because it's only a few minutes of each practice. And so it doesn't take up a lot of time. And I just knew, even if there were some mornings where it felt great and there were some mornings where I just didn't feel anything, but I was aware that it doesn't matter what I'm feeling, that this is work that's going to result in something great.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, how has what you've learned in this program affected other areas of your life?
So I find that I am better at setting boundaries. I feel more courageous in that way. Because again, I'm paying attention to my health and my well-being, which this program has also encouraged me to put first, to actually prioritize myself in a way that I hadn't. And when we commit to a program like this, and that there are practices that we have to do, it requires for us to be able to do the program, to actually ask for help, to ask for people to recognize that we are a priority, to carve out time for ourselves. It's a requirement in the program. So it's a really good kind of way to kind of make those of us that won't do it, do that. And then that just feeds that willingness to set boundaries in other parts of life, whether it be work, whether it be with our partners, with our children. So definitely that's been something that's really helped. Something that this program has fostered in my relationship here at home or with my partner, is we are much more intimate. I think it's also because I've kind of released blocks that would prevent me from feeling safe enough to feel open and intimate and vulnerable. And so sometimes that happens in a way that doesn't even necessarily involve sex. It's just holding each other. And very recently, as a matter of fact, we there was a time where we just held each other for a really, really long time, and we breathed together. And that was really profound. And that also helps to have a deeper connection when we are intimate. And so that's been something that's been special that this program has added for our relationship.
Oh, I love that so much. I remember you sharing that and I was like, oh, that's so awesome. Very cool. Well, what was your favorite part of the program if you had to pick one thing?
It's hard to pick because there's so many things that I love. But when you said it, I'm just going to go with the first thing that came to my mind, and that's the accountability sister relationship. That has been something that I'm going to be honest, you asked me what I was scared of. And until you asked me this question, I had forgotten that I was scared to open up with people who were not, prepared as you are, to talk with women about the most personal things. And instead, they're just other women like I am who are looking for help. And I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't know if I was ready to be so open and honest, or even to listen and be able to hold space for them in the way that they deserve. but the relationship has been so incredible and so supportive. And we just look forward to talking to each other. We get so excited when it's time to get together. So that has been, I think, my favorite thing.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. I was so excited to hear it. Yeah, y'all had quite the dream team. All of y'all were so amazing and supportive of each other. And I really enjoyed just watching your relationship with each other grow and unfold. And I think that's part of the hidden benefits of doing the group program, is that you walk away, you never know who you're going to get, but you might walk away with best friends for life after that, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it really feels like we have. They're so incredible. They're just so full of beyond support, this insight. And will often say, I am telling you something that I've never said to anyone. A lot of times that's come out. And so again, just that willingness or that ability to be able to actually better word, I think, is access, the access that we have to somebody who can provide support, and allow us to share and to be vulnerable is just invaluable.
Oh, yes. Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to share about your experience before we wrap up?
Yes. When we first were in the test drive, and even with the test drive, it just seemed like I was meeting with a lot of resistance before being able to actually follow through with the program. And then we did the test drive, and then I had met with more resistance when it was time to decide if I wanted to move on. And then magically, I was able to get the resources to be able to continue. And it was probably one of the greatest things that could have happened for me, because it has given me a place where I can nurture myself, and a place where I can release what needs to be released, and a place to turn for insight when I need it, whether it's from you or from my accountability sisters or from the women who are part of the group when we get together and talk on our nights that we have calls. So it just has been an incredible resource, and I am so immensely grateful to have been a part of it.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. Well, is there anything that you would say to the women thinking about applying or joining the program, or even just doing the test drive? What would you say to them?
Oh, absolutely. I would tell them it is absolutely 100% worth giving it a try. If they have any concerns or any doubts, do the test drive, and that will tell you what you need to know about how valuable this experience is. I think every woman needs a community like this. So definitely 100% give it a try.
Yeah. Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining and so vulnerably and openly sharing your story, Serena. I know not everyone can even fathom thinking of doing this. And then you go through the program, you're like, oh my God, of course I would share about this, right? Because before it's like, you're so shy and embarrassed to even talk about sex or any of those things. And then it's like, oh my God, I have to share, or I really, really want to, because women need to know that this is even available. So I really appreciate you. Love you so much. And thank you so much for being an awesome client.
My gosh, thank you. I love you so much, Tilly Storm. You're amazing. Every woman should definitely meet with you and definitely give this a try.
Oh, thank you. All right, my love. Well, you have a wonderful evening. We'll talk soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. All right, my loves. I'm so glad you got to hear from Serena. And if you're interested in having any transformations like she had, and you identify with a lot of what she was sharing with you today, then I really, really encourage you to go download that private podcast on my 5 days of epic sex and pleasure for high achieving moms. You can go download that training at www.tillystorm.com/5-day training. Be sure to put in the W's in front of the tillystorm.com/5-day training. In that training, you're going to have an in-depth learning of what all these women actually go through. I will be sharing my methods exactly with you and what we actually do to support you all in this massive change and transformation, to experience all of these breakthroughs and pleasure that spill over into so many different areas of your life other than just the bedroom and sex. So go download the training. And remember, we have a new group of ladies starting March 31st. That is the last day to apply for this next big round. We generally have big rounds that start every quarter or so. So our last one was right at New Year's, and we're doing another big round this upcoming March 31st. So we'd love to invite you in to have a chance to speak with you about the program. Be sure to get your call booked in before then if you're interested in joining us for that. All right, my loves, thank you so much. And don't forget to download that private podcast. See you next time. Bye. Enjoying this content? Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the Multi-Orgasmic Mama podcast today. And don't forget to spread the love by sharing this with a friend